Welcome to the AdviserLogic FoFA tutorial. In this tutorial, we will aim to show you how you can manage all of your FoFA requirements within AdviserLogic. In order to get started up, there are 4 setup steps that I would encourage you all to do. Now, the first one is about making sure that you've got the appropriate FoFA widgets on your home page. There's 2 main ones, and as a reminder on how to add them on, up in the top right hand corner, you will see the link for your customized advisor home. When you come in here, it's a matter of searching through the list to find the FoFA related widgets. Now, as I just mentioned, there's 2 main ones. One is the FoFA FDS due, because that one is going to tell you or notify you on your homepage what clients you've got coming due for their fee disclosure statements. The other one is the FoFA renewal due. Exactly the same concept, except this is about your opt-in clients. So this will give you the list of your clients that are almost due for their opt-in letters to be sent out. So it's a simple tick on those 2 boxes, click on the Save button, and then you will see the widgets appear on your home page. Now, I've currently got my widgets maximized, which means I have a list down the left-hand side of my different widgets. So I could click on the FoFA FDS due option, and I will see which clients are either coming up as being due for their FDSs, or in the case of mine, I've got some that are slightly overdue, which is why they've become red. The next setup step is more about getting into client files and creating what we call service levels. Now, you may have only one service package whereby you say you're a client of ours, so you get all of the bells and whistles. You might have multiple service levels that are relevant depending on the level of fees that your client are paying you. They might opt in or choose to take up a particular service package and pay you a certain amount. It doesn't matter whether you have 1 or half a dozen service packages. These all get set up in the same spot. The setup place is through our tools area. So up in the top right hand corner, when you click on the spanners, you will go to the AdviserLogic tools. The one that we're looking at for setting up the service packages is under the Administrative Tools heading in the section called Practice Management. The very top link here is Categories, and this is where you can go into to create your FoFA service levels. So over on the left-hand side, there's another link for FoFA service level, and this is where you're going to come in to build each of those different packages. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, it doesn't matter if you have 1 or 6 or any number in between, or even more than that, depending on those service offerings that you have for your client. So all you need to do is you pop in the name of your service package. So I'm just going to pull up one that I've prepared earlier. So I've created a Platinum service package. Once I've put in the name, I click on the Save button, and then I will see the below window open up, which is where I'm able to go in and say what services am I offering to the clients that have signed up for my Platinum service package. With the services themselves, you can put in a description. So it might be a nice brief description like some of these ones that I've put in. And you can also put in an extended description. So simply by clicking on the Add button, you go through and you add in your description and your extended description. You don't have to put an extended description in. That is there simply as an option if you're wanting to explain that service in more detail. So you simply pop in the details, click on the Save button, and continue adding until you've built out your whole service package. Once you've done that, you click on the Save button. If you have a second package, you can click on the Add button and go through that process again. If, on the other hand, your next level down might be a gold package, all you need to do instead of starting from scratch is click on the Save As, pop in the name of the gold or the next one down, and then all you do is go through and you can delete out any one of those service offerings that are not applicable under your next level down of the services. So what I suggest when you're building these is that you actually start with your top of the range package, the one that has everything in it, and then you slowly but surely build the other ones underneath simply by removing any services that are not applicable, or in some cases you might open them up and simply reword them if that's what's required for that next service level down. So once you've got your widgets and once you've got your service levels, the next thing to do is to make sure that all of your clients have got their relevant dates entered in along with an actual service level. So where you go to do this is via each individual client file. So I'm going to just go into Joe and Joanne accumulators file, and what we'll see is under the fact finder there is a section called FoFA compliance. Now, this is where all the FoFA stuff goes on, but what we're focusing on just at the moment is making sure you've put in your key dates and services. So the service level is very straightforward. That is simply those service levels that we have just built in. The only other field that you need to populate is the FDS application date. Think of this as your client start date or your client anniversary date. Now, take a lead from your licensee on this one, because some licensees will say that you need to do it based on the fact finder date or the date of the SOA, or maybe even the date that the authority to proceed or service agreement have been signed. So if you're not sure on that one, just talk to your compliance manager at your licensee to see if they have any guidance that they can offer to you in that space. On the flip side, if you're doing all your FDSs on one date of each year, so you might have decided to do all of them on the 1st of August, you would put the 1st of August in here as your FDS application date. Once you've popped that one date in, when you click on the Save button down the bottom, AdviserLogic will automatically populate the FDS disclosure date as being 1 year after the application date, because the FDS must go out each year. We're also going to automatically populate the opt-in renewal date. We will put this in as being 2 years after the application date, because generally speaking, most of you need to send out your opt-in letters on every 2 year, or every 2 years is when you need to send out your opt-in letters. We're also going to populate the opt-in renewal period end date. Now, we will put that as 60 days after the opt-in renewal date. Any of these other dates can still be changed. So if, as an example, your licensee is under one of the professional practices and they've got one of the rules that you only have to do opt-ins every 3 years, you can come in and overtype these dates if it's required. Also, if your clients are subject to an FDS, you pop in your application date and we will put in the disclosure date for the FDS, but maybe they've been with you a bit longer and they're not subject to opt-in. You can also delete those dates. If I was to then save this page like that, AdviserLogic will not put the opt-in dates back in. It's purely up to you that if at some later stage with this client relationship that you need to put those dates back in, you can put them back in. But just know, from our point of view, you've set up your service packages in the admin tools. So all you need to do on a client file is pop in the one date, choose your service level and save that, and we will populate the other dates accordingly. On the right-hand side, you might notice that I've also got a warning here telling me that I'm negative 17 days until the end of the disclosure period. This is effectively counting down until how many days I have left to get my FDS out for this client. It was due on the 25th of July. This tutorial is being built early in August. So I'm being told that I've only got 17 more days in order to get the FDS out to the client. So just if you're wondering what the warnings are over on the right-hand side, they are there counting down the days for you. So the last step as far as setting up goes is done back in the tools area. This one also sits under the practice management heading. Down closer to the bottom, you'll see a link for Quick Docs. The easiest way to explain Quick Docs is it's creating a rule to say what template is sitting behind certain buttons within AdviserLogic. Talking specifically about FoFA, if I just pop back to Joe's file, there's some buttons up the top and one of them is an FDS and one of them is a renewal notice. Sitting behind these buttons is a template. In this case, it's an opt-in notice. In this one, it's an FDS notice. To set which document is going to sit behind those buttons, we need to go into the Quick Docs back in the Administrative Tools area. When you come in here, there's a few different ones that you can do. I'm going to stick particularly about the FDS documents today. So FDS report, I get to say which template I want to have sitting behind that FDS button. It's very much like choosing the documents when you're generating an ROA or an SOA. So all I need to do is say which folder I want to look into for my FDS letter. So in my case, it is AdviserLogic Standard Templates version 4. I then say which template name, which for this button is the Individual Fee Disclosure Statement version 4. To the right of that, we have our renewal report or the opt-in letter. The same concept in that I choose the folder and I choose the template name. One last one here is the bulk FDS report. I will show you shortly how you can generate your FDSs en masse. The idea here is saying which particular document is going to sit behind that button. So once again, choose folder and choose the template name. Now it is very important to make sure that you click save on each of these because they are all individual buttons. So as you're going through changing any of the templates that sit behind them, you do need to save each one individually. So once you've gone through those 4 steps, your FoFA requirements are now set up. So it's a case of widgets on your homepage, creating your service packages, making sure that every client has got a service level and their relevant dates entered in, and then checking that you've got your licensee's documents sitting behind the buttons. So some licensees have given us their documents. Just pop in here and check and see if that's the case. If not, check with them that they're happy for you to use our standard documents. So once that's all done, it comes down to ongoing maintenance. Now with ongoing maintenance, it's about uploading your licensee's revenue statements when they send them through to you. That might be daily, it might be weekly, it might be monthly. So when your licensee sends your statements through to you, your revenue statements, typically they will be sending you a PDF document and also either an Excel or a CSV file, depending on which revenue management software they are using themselves. Once you receive that email, simply save those files as you normally would, onto your hard drive or onto your server, whatever you would normally do. What you then want to do is come back into AdviserLogic, back into the Tools area, and this time under Admin Tools area, we have a heading that says Compliance, including FoFA. The top link here is FoFA Fee Upload. So you're going to go in and upload that statement that your licensee has provided to you. In order to do that, you do need to select the type of the file. There's a whole heap of rules that sit in the background behind this button here that tells AdviserLogic what file we're expecting to receive and what information is in which column of that file. So if you look at that CSV or Excel file that your licensee has sent you, there's certain information in column A, different information in column B, different information in column C, and so on. This particular type name here is telling AdviserLogic where the files come from and therefore what information is going to be in each column. So it's important to understand what software program your licensee is using to run their revenue management side of things. If you don't know, just pick up the phone and ask them. Whoever does the revenue management at their end, they're going to be able to tell you which package they're using. So when you come in here, it's a matter of simply sorting and choosing the program that you've been told. In my case, I know that the sample file that I've got to upload is an Easy Dealer file. So I'm going to choose Easy Dealer. If you're running 2 screens, it's great. You can drag and drop. That doesn't work so well when you're recording tutorials and running webinars. So I need to click on the Browse button. So if you can do drag and drop, that's nice and quick. But otherwise, all you do is click on the Browse button and then you simply navigate through to wherever you have your file saved. For me, mine's sitting right here on the file right in front of me. So I simply double click on this and the file is then going to upload. The pop-up comes up to tell you what amounts are being represented on that file. that should be the same amount that your licensee has paid into your bank account. So with this particular screen, all you need to do is say, okay, my file has now been uploaded. And it's as easy as that to upload the file. Just like a data feed that comes through from a product provider, there's a whole heap of information that sits in the background of that document that I have just uploaded. Now, that information is going to have client names, account numbers, and of course, the amounts. Just like a data feed, you do need to map the entries the first time. So when you're uploading your first revenue statement into AdviserLogic, you're going to have quite a few what we call orphan records. They're ones that we need you to confirm which client file they belong to. As you upload more and more revenue statements, as long as you're on top of the mapping, you will get less and less orphans until you get to the point where your orphans are simply your brand new clients or ones that we've not seen before. So once you've uploaded the revenue statement, just check, and if there's any number sitting in the orphan area, you simply go back to the tools option, and then the next link down under that FoFA area is FoFA Orphan Fee Records. So when you come in here, very similar to mapping of a data feed in that you get your list of clients that AdviserLogic's going, we're not quite sure where to put that entry, confirm it, tell us where to put it. So it's a simple process of going through and saying, Mr. Accumulator, this fee is subject to being on the fee disclosure statement. This is the account number or the member number, where it's come from, and the fee types and amounts. Just so that you are all aware, we look at the codes behind that file that you've uploaded, and we know in the majority of circumstances whether that particular type of fee needs to go on your fee disclosure statement or not. I would, however, encourage you to just double check it here and make sure that you are comfortable that this fee coming from the Investment Wrap Advisor Services is supposed to be on the fee disclosure statement. Just so you do know, if I tick over here on the left-hand side, up on the top right-hand side, I have got an option to say, no, that should be set to non-FDS. If I click on that, that fee has now changed to a no, which means it will not appear on my FDS. And that's true that if next week or next month I upload another fee statement from my licensee, this same information, it will still come through as a no. Just like if it's sitting here as a no, I can click on the box and I can change it to say set FDS, and that will change it back to a yes. So whilst I'm saying that we do know what the codes are in the background, I would also encourage you all to just cast your eye down this as you're mapping, just to make sure that you are happy with the records that we've brought in. As far as mapping goes, it is a case of clicking on the tick box on the left-hand side, and then up in the top right-hand corner, we have our map button. When you click on map, you're going to say which client file that entry belongs to. So if I just type in accumulator, I can then say whether it's part of their Q Super for him or for her, and I'm just going to say it's for Joe, and I click on done. And that fee information has now been mapped through to Joe's file and will be ready to appear on his FDS when I generate that. You can then follow that same process through for all of the other entities that you've got coming up that require mapping. Just so you are aware, if there is one that is a joint entity fee or a fee that relates to a joint entity, you simply type the word joint at the start, and then in this case I'll type James and I'll say, yep, this is the one that it needs to go to. It's the same concept if it's a self-managed super fund. You simply type SMSF at the start, and then you can map the fee through to that chosen SMSF. So just remember, if they're individuals, you just put in the one name. If it's a fee that's coming from a joint account, joint investment, you type the word joint at the start. And if it's an SMSF, you type SMSF at the start. And then you just go through the rest of this to map those fees through to your client files. From there, you're ready to start generating FDSs. Now, for some of you, you're going to sit back and say, well, I now need to bring through my last 12 months or 2 years worth of FDSs, or revenue statements. That can be done. You can go back through and import or upload as many of your revenue statements that you've received from your licensee that you're wanting to pull in. One thing I would suggest is do one and then do the mapping. Upload the next statement, do the mapping. Upload the next statement and do the mapping. Because once you've mapped this account number with this client name into that client file, the next revenue payment for that client will automatically go into the client file and you won't need to map it. If you're not doing your mapping in between, this screen might look a little bit overwhelming because all of the entries are going to need to be mapped. Just so you know, we do group as much as we can. So in this case, I've got two different fees for this client. One is a yes FDS, one's a no. They've come from the same account number. I can individually map them or I can map per client, but I still kind of think if you upload one statement and do your mapping, you will gradually get less and less entries that need to be mapped. So once you've gone through that and you've been uploading your statements every week, every fortnight that they come through, and it's come time to generate an FDS. There are two ways that you can generate your documents. One is at an individual client level, and one is that bulk fee disclosure statement that I mentioned a moment ago. If you're going to do them individually, it's a matter of going into each individual client file, going to the FoFA compliance tab. What you will see here is their services, their dates. Underneath we'll get a history of any of the fees that have come through and you can expand out on those and you can drill down to your dates depending on what you're wanting to just look at on the screen. You can manually add in any other fees. So if, for example, the client has paid you something direct, you can add the fee in down the bottom. It's important that if you are doing this, that you complete all of the mandatory fields, including the account number. Now, the reason we do this is when we generate fee disclosure statements, most of them will be grouped per account. So if you've got a client with a superannuation wrap account and a non-super wrap account, they'll end up having two amounts showing on their FDS, one for each account. Some licensees don't do it that way. Some licensees actually break it down and say, well, we've received 12 months from this wrap account, which means you'll see 12 monthly fees coming on your FDS, but most of them do group them by the account number. So once you're at this stage, if it's time for me to generate my FDS for Joe, I would come in and I would mark off what services he has received. So I will go through and I will say what services I did provide to Joe. Down the bottom, I'd click on the Save button to say, please save all of those tick boxes. From there, all I need to do is click on the FDS button. I then see a pop-up to say your document's ready. Click here to download it. It's going to pop up down in the bottom left-hand corner, just like any other document that you're generating from within AdviserLogic. And when we open that one up, we have our fee disclosure statement ready to print and pass to the client. Nice and easy, nice and simple. We have our start and end dates, the date that I've generated it, our amounts, services, what was entitled, what was provided. There is a bit of a disclaimer or notes at the bottom to say that, these are the fees that have been paid. It's not an invoice, that kind of thing. That will vary, of course, if you're using your licensee's template. It will look a little bit different. But that's our standard fee disclosure statement. So once you've generated that, you've printed it, you've passed it to the client or you've mailed it out to the client, all you need to do is click on the Disclosed button. You will get a pop-up saying, are you sure? Did you really do that? You'll say yes, and then you get a second pop-up that says, do you want to clear the received tick boxes for this client? Now, when I click yes here, what you're going to notice is the tick boxes in the background are going to clear out and the next year's date will update. So when I say yes, what we've got is the received tick boxes are now cleared out and the FDS disclosure date is ready for next year. In addition, in the file notes area, I will see two new file notes with today's date saying that the fees were disclosed on this date and that I have received the tick boxes. Now, it's important to note that we don't automatically save a copy of that fee disclosure statement into the client file. The reason for that is when it's been generated, it's in a Word document, which you might edit and change. So just bear in mind that we're not automatically putting a copy of the FDS notice into the client file. It might be worth you saving it and uploading to the document vault or scanning and putting into the document vault. It's exactly the same concept if I was doing the opt-in notification. The only difference is with the opt-in, if I had my opt-in dates, instead of clicking on FDS, although I might do that separately, I would click on the renewal notice. Now, in the case of our renewal notice, it is a covering letter that explains what it is. It's a fee disclosure statement included, and then a page for the client to sign and pass back to you. Now, exactly the same concept that you go through, you tick on all your receive boxes, click on the renewal notice, and click here to download it. It opens it up in Word, and then all you do is once the client has signed that renewal notice, you click on the renewed button. This time you get, are you sure that the client renewed the relationship? You say yes, and do you want to update them ready for next year? And in that case is when the relevant dates will come back in and boxes will be cleared out. And once again, file notes automatically are added into the client file. So that's the individual way to do your fee disclosure statements and your opt-in notices. One last thing on this particular page is if the client was to turn around and say, nope, I'm not opting in, I'm actually opting out, you do have the option to click on the terminated button. If you click on the terminated button, we will put in a date here, although again, you can change that so that, you might need to put in yesterday's date to say this is when it was terminated. That will add in a file note, and it will change the client to being a hidden or inactive client back on the basic information tab. What this won't do is turn off your revenue. So it is still important, if that does happen, that you contact either your licensee or the product providers to tell them that the client has opted out and that they need to stop processing any fees or paying any fees through to your business. Very important that you still need to do that. This is simply updating AdviserLogic. You do need to notify the product providers as well. Okay, so that's all a little bit tedious and all a little bit manual. Can be done, can be managed. However, if you have a lot of clients that you're doing fee disclosure statements for, especially if you have chosen to do them all on the one day, within the compliance tool, we also have the option to do bulk FDS. Now, it is exactly what it says, fee disclosure statements generated in bulk. So when you come into this screen, you've got the option to say, show me all of my clients that are subject to FDS, any that are overdue for their FDS, and any that are due next month. So obviously you pick and choose whichever one is relevant for what you're doing. You can also choose your service levels. So you might decide just to do your bronze clients en masse and your platinum clients get them handed to them during their review meetings. So you can come through and say, only show me those clients of mine that are on a bronze service package, whatever it might be. I only have platinum and gold ones set up in my clients, but you can pick and choose the different service levels. Once you're at this page, you will see the list of your clients, their actual date, the FDS income for the previous 12 months, and the FoFA service level. On the very right-hand side, I have my tick boxes. Now, I can still go through and say, oh, actually, I don't want to do these three. Or I can click on the top and say, no, I'm going to incorporate all of them here. Depending, obviously, on what you choose will show how many are going to be generated. But the idea is that you choose them all and simply click on the Generate FDS. Things happen a little bit out of order when you're doing it in bulk because straight away we say, well, do you want to record the file notes and move the dates forward before we've actually got the document there? When you say yes here is when we then build the document. So what's happening in the background is each of those client files are having their dates rolled forward. They're all having those file notes added in. And now down the bottom, I have my bulk FDS letter ready to open up. Now, the information that comes through will vary. Mine's a training account, so it has a bit of random information in here. But what you will see is the client's details, so name and address, today's date, what this document is. In this case, I have my start and end dates. I do apologize, they're a little bit out of whack because it's my training account. if there were any fees paid in that time frame, they would appear, and any of my services will come through as well. There is then automatically a page break before the next client file, and then we follow the same process through. Page break, next client, page break, next client, ready for me to simply print this and pop into envelopes and send out to my clients. So doing FDSs en masse is really simple. It's about going through and just picking and choosing which ones you want to include. We will roll all their dates forward. We will add file notes for all of them, and you then have the document ready to download and print. Once again, though, just bear in mind that we will not put a copy of the FDS on the client file. So if you're wanting that to happen, it is important to still go through and scan or upload copies to the client file. All right, just to recap, the setup steps are making sure you put your widgets on your home page so that you know which clients are coming due for their FDSs and or opt-ins, depending on which widgets you put on your home page. You then want to go into the tools and under practice management and into categories to build in your FoFA service levels. You can also, at the same time, through practice management, go to Quick Docs to make sure that you've got the relevant documents attached to the back end of the buttons. And then it's about making sure that every client has got an FDS application date and service level saved within their file. Once you've done that, it is about uploading and maintaining your statements. So that's done through administrative tools, compliance, including FoFA. You upload your statements, you map any orphans, and then you start generating your documents. Just so that everybody is aware, there is an option to create a FoFA segmentation report. This works very much like our database segmentation tool in that you can come in here and create and build your reports based around which clients are on a certain service level, who's got a renewal month of whatever month it might be. So you can build your FoFA specific segmentation reports through the FoFA segmentation area. This will allow you to build and design those reports. These can be used to reverse engineer to identify any clients that don't have dates and any clients that don't have a service level. So just if you're not sure about how to find those clients out, use the FoFA segmentation tool. I won't go into the details of how to create that one today. If that is something of interest to you, I encourage you to take part in the database segmentation, either YouTube tutorial or the live webinar when it's next being run. But other than that, it is just about ongoing maintenance, uploading and mapping. Of course, when you're adding in a brand new client, also populate that FoFA compliance tab to make sure that your new clients are also going to be picked up on the right dates to have the right documents sent out to them. All right, so I hope that that's helped point you in the right direction with FoFA requirements. Just go through those setup steps and then it is simply a matter of ongoing maintenance. As always, our support team is here and more than happy to help out wherever we possibly can. So through our support icon up in the top right-hand corner, there are a number of help desk articles, obviously the YouTube clip, and you can always access our support team via either live chat or email. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that this tutorial has been helpful. Thank you.